First, how are you? Jack Bauer. Hey, Jack Bauer, if you can actually get the real Jack Bauer to come on, that would be incredible. You know, Kiefer Sutherland, that would be fantastic. Anyway, hey, everybody watching and viewing and adding critiques and commentary for the videos for the NFL draft coverage by Zenny62. And I'll say it again. Thank you very much to the National Football League for producing what was one of the best. I'm not going to say it's the best NFL draft ever because I've done 15 of them. But of the NFL draft towns, I would put this number 2 behind Chicago. The first time it was done, it was in Chicago. And it was because Chicago was brand new. The league had never done this sort of thing before where they basically take over a gigantic plot of land in an urban area. In that case, it was the lakefront, and transform it into a draft town, and that's what the league did. It was an obvious, and unfortunately, in this hypermedia society, we tend to forget things really quickly, right? But Chicago really did bring it, and you could tell the draft was in Chicago from a distance because the skyscrapers, the Prudential Building, the historic Prudential Building, had 2015 NFL Draft. Welcome, then had another one signed on another building, Welcome NFL. I mean, in huge ass letters, okay? If you didn't know the NFL was in Chicago, you had to be something other than a normal human being. It was that obvious. Nashville was on that level too. I mean, you would have to be something other than human to, figure out that, well, your normal path to work was gone because the NFL was in town. Or the school that you send your kids to was closed. I'm not kidding. They closed schools, Nashville did, for the NFL. I will repeat. They closed schools for the National Football League. Okay? One more time. They closed schools for the National Football League. And so you would say, what did those kids do? Well, some of the 500 that were at Nissan Stadium on Wednesday, helped NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell bag boxes to feed the hungry. A noble effort by the NFL, well attended, a very proud moment for the league. For all the criticism that the league gets, most of it, I think, unjust. Some of it just, but, that's for debate. They did a great job in Nashville. It was definitely the NFL at its best. And it happened, and it's important to say this, because how these events are produced I'm just going to say this, what's wrong with Oakland, and why I'm always saying, hey, Oakland should have this, or Oakland can have this, and so on. It's because these city organizers do what we used to do in Oakland. Banded together to do something, to get something. We had in 1992, yeah, you have to go back that far, 1992, and look at something called Celebration Oakland to come up with a comparable business community group that banded together in Nashville to get the NFL draft there. Tim McGraw was on that committee, as were a number of other prominent Nashvillians. And he told me they set out a plan to get it, a plan to service it, and it all sort of, as the mayor and Tennessee Titans owner Amy Adams Strunk told me, it came together in stages, The final stage was the largest NFL draft installation ever created to date. And as far as I know, no incidents. I didn't see anything. And if I had, I would have said so. I didn't see anything. Oh, I did see a couple really stumbling drunk people, okay? But I mean, I would say hilariously drunk. You know, right? Not toward me. They just like wandering around. But they didn't have to worry about getting hit. Why? Well, no cars. Urban planners' dreams take the cars away. They took the cars away from most of downtown Nashville. Folks, I've never seen the NFL do that before. They couldn't have got away with it in New York. But they got away with it in Nashville. I mean, you had to be there. It was something. I mean, if you watched it on television, you saw more than I did. I was able to walk out a couple of times just because I was busy. But what you saw on television, these folks were not sedated. You know, they were having fun. All that set the stage. Hey, John O'Connell, how you doing? All that set the stage for an incredible NFL draft. Now, I'm going to say something else before I continue. There's one report that, with that, the ratings were down 2%. All right, riddle me this. Why is it, and what year is this? We've been through this before. This is 2019, okay? Why is it that in 2019, we have some person quoting us statistics on media from the 20th century? Because the ratings that are talking to us about only capture one type of viewing on standard televisions. They don't have anything attached to your smartphone, so you could be watching a draft live stream and they would never know it. You think you're going to have 500,000 people in Nashville? You know what that adds up to, folks? That adds up to 500,000 smartphones. That's got to be a record. And you're going to tell me those smartphones weren't being used to FaceTime, photograph, and live stream? Of course they were. All right? Of course they were. I'll get to that in a second. We have a crisis in this country, in this world, of media. We have media, we're bombarded by media, and yet we have another media basically telling us that this huge Bud event was 2% less in the ratings than the year before, but that's just television. Woohoo! 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 Okay, that's nuts. What's even nuttier is that the NFL allows that charade of misreporting to go on. Bad stuff, okay? I hope the league needs to step in and tell its own story and stop doing the old 20th century thing of, well, maybe I can get these media folks to say it my way. Forget it. Tell your own story. That's the name of the game these days, okay? Now, let's talk about this draft, all right? And your Oakland Raiders, my Oakland Raiders, our Oakland Raiders. You're our Oakland Raiders. Hey, by the way, tweet this out if you can. Put it on your Facebook page. Had a great draft. The only misstep was Cleveland Farrell, all right? And even then, he wasn't really a misstep, okay? Now, you would say, Zinni, why do you say he was a misstep? Simple. The Raiders passed on Devin White. In fact, Devin White even told me at the NFL draft that he said, hey, look, you know, I fully expected to be chosen by the Raiders. And if you want to see the interview that I did, it's right here at Zinni62. Just type Devin White. Full interview, start to finish. I was the first person to welcome him and get the questioning rolling and everything, all right? But my point is, the Bucs were just sitting down there kind of, you know, and I can hear Brian Glazer, who I know. So, one of the Bucs fan, part of the Glazer family. Great guy. Just saying, please pass on him. Fall to us. And Devin White fell right to the Bucs. The fastest linebacker in combine history, more appropriate for an organization that lost a fellow in Khalil Mack so fast that he regularly gave offensive tackles and running backs headaches blitzing. Not to mention the quarterbacks he sacked. Could you imagine Devin White or Montez Sweat, who fell to the Redskins? All right? You want me to characterize this draft? I will. This draft was about race in ways that were just stupid, okay? It was about race and class, all right? Race and class, okay? Race and class. Why do I say race and class? Okay. Kyler Murray's from a big school, Oklahoma. He wins the Heisman. So you check off all the bright bells and whistles. Plus, he's a good quarterback. Great quarterback, arguably. And not a Dwayne Haskins, okay? Not a Dwayne Haskins. The baseball thing didn't work out. He is basically the modern realization of how we've advanced in this world. And bear with me, I know you're saying, do I talk about race, okay? It's actually a great story. It is a great story to see someone and Kyler Murray feted without regard to his color, okay? But that was institutions. He hit all the right bells and whistles. And you know what I say to that? Yes, that's awesome. That means we've advanced a great deal as a country. Logically, though, Dwayne Haskins had a great year. Name the last quarterback that had like this really, really great year. Really, really great year. And one really, really great year, and then the next year he came out and was the second quarterback taken in the NFL draft. Who was that? Carson Wentz. Okay? Carson Wentz. So Dwayne Haskins was on that trajectory. He threw 50 touchdowns in 1 year. Are you kidding me? He threw 50, not 40, 50 touchdowns in 1 year. He had this ungodly great touchdown to interception ratio. You know you know the stuff about this, right? And then they let him fall. Okay? The Giants passed on him. Dave Gettleman, the general manager, passed on him. And here's why I say race is an issue. For these reasons. The first reason that was swirling around the draft room was, well, okay, Gettleman, thinks that Mr. Haskins would be less successful in New York than Daniel Jones because Daniel Jones is more mature. That's why when I interviewed Daniel Jones, I asked him, he mentioned that he had interned for summer in New York, and I said, for who? And he said, an investment, a financial company ran by a guy who was a dookie, okay? And I said, okay, for 2 weeks. I said 2 weeks in New York, all right? So Gettleman looks at the guy and checks off Gettleman's class and race issues in a positive way for him. Tall, white guy, brow ridge, deep set eyes, tall dad, all that stuff, right? And worked for an investment banking firm ran by a Duke guy or a financial firm who has money and all that stuff. And in the middle of Manhattan. So he can handle that. He can handle Manhattan the other way. So then he looks at Haskins and he thinks, black guy with double earrings. That's what Gettleman is thinking. Having already, quote, dealt with, unquote, Odell Beckham Jr., okay? And look at the way he handled that. You cannot tell me race wasn't a factor here. Because then he says, well, I looked at him in the Senior Bowl and I just fell in love with him and, oh, he was playing so well and I thought he should be a starter. And I'm thinking the same Senior Bowl where Tyree Jackson, came in the fourth quarter and scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter while the NFL Network is talking to Jones, and they were talking to Jones, and then Drew Lock. Well, there's this commotion in the background because Tyree Jackson is making hay up and down the field. All right? I was getting after Daniel Jeremiah about that on a live stream. And he said, well, scouts, I like Daniel. This is nothing personal. Daniel and I are friends. I like Daniel Jeremiah a lot, okay? But I can disagree. And see, that's where it's cool, by the way. You can disagree and still be friends, okay? I think Daniel's a great guy. Now, here's the thing. I happen to think he is incorrect regarding Tyree Jackson, all right? Because as I pointed out to him in the live stream, I said, hey, I'm watching the Senior Bowl, and you saying that Tyree Jackson can't throw short, and he's buggy whipped the pass for a touchdown. I'm thinking, Daniel, are you watching the game? All right? I sincerely believe that some of these folks who announce these games are told what to say about certain players. Say this positive thing about this guy who happens to be this marketable white guy, okay? Say a lot of negative things about this other fellow who happens to be this unpolished black guy. All right? Now, why would I come up with that? Because Daniel, right out of the gate, was saying negative stuff about Tyree Jackson, and he continued to do so until it was obvious that Jackson was moving the ball along, and it lit up the Senior Bowl. They even reported it as if he wasn't the best quarterback, when statistically he was. What does that look like but F-I-X? Yeah, fix, okay? Because the NFL doesn't want this flood tide of black quarterbacks. And I don't care what anyone says. The NFL is afraid of becoming too black. And that comes from some of its owners, not all. Because, for example, Daniel Snyder made the, call regarding getting Haskins in. And how beautiful is that? You have Haskins sitting there about to go up against the team that passed on him in the NFL draft, not once, but twice. Every year for the rest of his career, as long as he's with the Redskins, unless he gets picked up by the Eagles or the Cowboys. Okay? I mean, what kind of punishment does that set up for the Giants and Dave Gettleman? Okay? What a boneheaded error. So that's why I can't call, and that's why you're hearing the same criticism you're hearing about the Raiders are the same criticisms, all right? The same criticisms you're hearing about the Giants in terms of passing on the person who's really the best person for a position in terms of someone else for reasons that are not really obvious. Sure, Mr. Farrell's a Ted Hendricks award winner. I get it. If you take a look at Cleveland's profile, you could see he was penciled in for the Raiders, even before the Raiders got him. 4-3 defensive end. Slips through in the Paul Gunther system where he does a single gap, which I like, slips through the single gaps, all right? Let me put it this way. There's every bit a reason why the Raiders should have gone after Mr. Farrell. But at number 4, no, that's the whole point. It's just, it was too high. My contention is this. They could have, if they really coveted him that bad, all right, they could have traded their second round picks and moved up back in and got him, and then got the person that I think makes this draft a star for the Raiders, Josh Jacobs. And I called that one, okay? I called that one. I said as soon as I heard, the very minute I heard that Marshawn Lynch retired, Josh Jacobs is the highest running back on the board, I went straight to him and I started talking about it because I just had this feeling that the Raiders would pick him up. Let me put it this way. I felt the Raiders should pick him up. Okay? Should, all right? Okay? I'm okay? So, all right? Now, as far as the rest of the Raiders picks, the Raiders do need a quarterback at this juncture, not a star one. I thought look, they could have brought in Tyree Jackson and signed him, or Amir Hall. Do you realize, all right, do you realize that Amir Hall, unless something has changed and I haven't seen it, is still an unsigned free agent? This man was the best quarterback in black college football 2 years in a row. Now, when I say that, people say, well, I mean, get this, all right? Get this, okay? But this is the stupid stuff that I hear. And I consider it stupid, okay? Someone else may disagree with me. I'm not calling you stupid in general, but I do have the right to say that specific idea among many that one has had is stupid. And you can say my idea is stupid, and we can be friends and go out and, have a big, deep dish pizza and argue. I love arguing, okay? If you can't argue without taking it personally, don't argue. But if you can argue and keep it fun, you're good with me. All right? Let's roll. Here's my point. Look, you take a look at the NFL draft. You take a look at who picked whom in the first round, okay? Okay, I know look, Clemson, LSU, Duke, Kentucky, Iowa, Houston, Michigan, Alabama, Clemson, Boston College, Ohio State, Florida State, Clemson again, North Carolina State, Mississippi State, Iowa, Maryland, Washington State, Alabama State. Say what? Alabama State? All right? That's Titus Howard, offensive tackle. Okay? So, you take Alabama State. All right? You say, Alabama State. All right? Alabama State University. What the heck is Alabama State University? It is, get this, an HBCU. What is that? It is a historically black college or university. All right. Now, for those people who said to me about Amir Hall, well, you don't understand, it's the level of talent. Then why the hell, all right, was the 23rd pick an offensive tackle from my HBCU? Give me a fucking break. It's because they don't want black quarterbacks in. That's why. Enough of this BS, okay? Call it for what it is. It is a race problem. You can come up with an excuse for every other player from an HBCU in every other position but quarterback. What are you going to tell me the next step? That he didn't face complicated defensive coverages? Come on. All right? As long as people, good people like yourself out there, allow this charade to continue, it's going to go on and on and on. It should have stopped by now. It should have stopped when Doug Williams torched the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl back in 1984. Okay? It should have stopped when we had Warren Moon piloting the run and shoot expertly. It should have stopped when Randall Cunningham and Randy Moss burned the you-know-what out of the NFL, stopped only by an Atlanta Falcons team that I think they took lightly on the way to the Super Bowl, only to be stopped by Morton Anderson's foot. Okay? Racism is a mental illness. It stops the best people from getting the right jobs because somebody else isn't comfortable with somebody who looks like that being in that position. That is stupid. Okay? There's no other way to put it. Dumb. I was trying to tell this to my friend, a guy I've had on this show, long time. Okay? I said, dude, you're my friend. You mean to tell me that you're going to say that's okay and it has nothing to do with race? I said, look, I'm the kind of guy that you're my friend white. I'm going to have the same conversation with you as if you're black. I don't change my conversation. I don't have like a black conversation with black friends or family or a white conversation with white friends or family, okay? Don't do it, all right? So, this is something that everybody should be concerned about. Really is. Now, I'm not going to go on the entire program about it, but I'll make that point right up here because it is the only factor that marred an otherwise fun NFL draft to watch and cover. All right? What was fun about it? I'll tell you what was fun. I talked about Kyler Murray. I talked about Josh Jacobs, who came from very humble beginnings, and meeting his dad, Marty. A big, nice guy. Well, he's actually a wide guy. He's actually shorter than me. But just nice people, okay? And people who, when you see what they're going through, you pray for them to get that shot, that chance, get their shot. And they get it. And you have to understand that, again, this is where race comes in. For the NFL draft, for a lot of folks who look like me, this is their ticket out of the situation that they're in. All right? Now, having said that, for a lot of folks who don't look like me, who are white, it's also for their ticket to get out of this situation. And I say that because the way this country has changed is such that you have three people, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and Jeff Bezos, who have more combined wealth than 50% of the United States. So what that means, folks, is that the rest of us are down below regardless of color. Okay? And the other are buying these super expensive places in places like San Francisco and Los Angeles and New York and Miami and Dallas and Atlanta, all right? And Chicago. Okay? Meanwhile, a lot of us, and maybe you, not me, but I was going to, are signed up to drive Uber or Lyft or some rideshare. Bell, ding, 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 ding. Do you realize that they're designing them to be driverless now? So you can have a driverless Uber or Lyft, which that means is you can't make any money off that. Do you realize, you're saying, where am I going with this? Think, listen. Do you realize, and I'm going to come, because it all fits together. This is all one big intertwined thing. Do you realize that MGM in Las Vegas laid off not 100, not 200, not 500, not 600, not 700, no, not 900, no, 1,100 employees on Friday. And in many cases, they replaced them with automation. You all have gone to Las Vegas, you check in, right? You haggle with a person, you're nice to them. Next thing you know, you get this room that overlooks the strip that has this incredible view, right? You can't haggle with a machine, and yet that's what they've got in there. What's happening around us should give you pause. It should scare you. It should make you understand why there are more and more people going into sports like football to make what I call the TP money, get that big chunk and invest it, play football for a while, make a little more money, sock that away, as Josh Jacobs said he was going to do, not going to spend it. Okay? Put in the right investments and watch it grow. Because they get what this job market is looking like because we're not doing anything about it. We've let so much of heavy industry go overseas, right under our noses, and then we let other people say, hey, you know what? We've got this plant that we want to build here. No, you can't build that because it pollutes. Well, I get that. But will you then give me the money to make the equipment so that it pollutes less? Well, no. What's that? It's called a subsidy. It's called a what? I'm not kidding you. All of this factors in to sports today. This is why you get what you get. This is why you get a lot of these stories. And you're going to get more of them, folks, until we do something about this economy. Now, back to the Raiders. From the other angle. I got it from the economic angle. Now I'm coming back from the personnel evaluator angle, all right? If you go through the Raiders' picks, and let's talk about them real quick. The 9 players they selected. All right. Clelin Ferrell. Josh Jacobs, running back. Josh Jacobs is going to be a star. He's going to make up for everything. Josh Jacobs is John Gruden's Charlie Garner. For those of you who remember John Gruden 1.0, like me, you remember a guy named Charlie Garner, who was the Raiders, he was the East Bay version of Roger Craig. Roger Craig was the great 49ers fullback, but really, Roger Craig was actually a tweener. He was a halfback and a fullback from Nebraska, and he could catch passes out of the backfield and caught a ton of them, basically in the process recreating the role of the running back in the National Football League, thanks to Bill Walsh. Well, Charlie Garner was the East Bay version of that. Josh Jacobs has what it takes to be the next Charlie Garner. That guy, okay? That guy. Now, he is that guy. Then they got John Abraham. It's funny. His name's Abraham. I'm Abraham. I'm so used to someone calling me Abrams, all right? But Jonathan Abrams gives the Raiders flexibility in the defensive backfield. His position is safety. He could play free safety or strong. I wouldn't put him at corner myself, but he allows the Raiders, between Conley and the other players back there, he allows the Raiders some flexibility. He brings depth to that position. But he could plug in, he could plug in and start. But he's excuse me, I'm just straightening out my legs there, okay? But he and Trayvon McMullen from Clemson bring depth to the Raiders and make their secondary on paper much better and younger. Because for a time last year, well, excuse me, not for a time, last year, the Raiders were quite literally bringing in people off the street. Their secondary is starting to look like Dr. Frankenstein. I love that, just piecing it together from here and there, getting this veteran, letting go of that veteran. It's like, wow, it's crazy. When you build through the draft, you have the opportunity to establish stability, because look at who has stuck around through all of this maelstrom. The players the Raiders drafted. Of the ones at the back there, who are the ones that became the stars? Carl Joseph could always be counted on to deliver the massive hit. Conley has come into his own as a top flight player who can change a game. All right? So now the Raiders smartly add on to that. That's what I like about this draft. Adding where you're good with just a little bit more. That was really cool, all right? It's really cool. Max Crosby, Mad Max. This is where the whole Mr. Farrell thing gets a little weird, all right? You've got a guy you're excited about, Mad Max Crosby. That's what they call him, Mad Max, all right? If you take a look at the film of Mad Max, he looks like the strong side answer to the weak side Cleveland Farrell. Their play is very similar. That's not by accident. That's not by accident. I thought that was a very smart pickup there. My point is that, did you overspin with Mr. Farrell? Now, when I say that, in my back of my mind is this. Mr. Farrell's only human. He was a Ted Hendricks Award winner. He is regarded by some as the best defensive end, but not the whole. Because I contend that Montez Sweat was better. All right, faster. Because the one thing that Mr. Farrell can't do very well, that Mr. Sweat can do, is he can chase your butt from behind and he can catch you. Okay? The knock on Farrell is that when he gets to the fourth quarter, his pass rush intensity starts to falter. Now, that can be handled via nutrition and, workout, right? But that's one of the knocks on him. Sweat. Montez pushes himself so hard, he's so fast, that, occasionally overworks his heart. 3 aspirin a day. That's what I do. And I'm not even Montez Sweat. 3 aspirin a day will take care of that. Okay? All right? So, we've got 4th round, Isaiah Johnson, quarterback, Houston. Great pickup. We'll see how that pans out, because I'm not certain about his ability with respect to the deep ball. We'll see. Short, intermediate, hammer, yes. Foster Moreau, tight end, LSU. I like the pickup. You know, I think I see him more as a run blocker who can catch short passes. I am of the opinion that he could be a guy that would be a great starter if he were split out wide, like a flanker, and you ran him. You have to run slants. If you moved him around, which, as it so happens, is what John Gruden does. Let's see how that comes out. Hunter Renfrow, wide receiver. Well, I mean, we'll see. Okay, I haven't seen. I'll just be honest. I haven't seen enough of Hunter Renfrow to make an intelligent comment about him. I've seen Clemson, but he hasn't stood out to me. All right. Quentin Bell, Prairie View defensive end. Solid defensive end from Prairie View A&M, which is an HBCU. Okay. So again, here's my point. You have Amir Hall from an HBCU, right? They let him fall out of the draft, and yet 7th round we have Quentin Bell, which is, according to the NFL Network, the stumper. Mayock managed to stump the trunk because the truck doesn't pay attention to black colleges, apparently. Jeez. All right. Wow. So basically, it's a solid. Here's my point. Here's my concern. My main concern. The Raiders have too many people who are new for me to be comfortable with the idea that John Gruden 2.0 can put together a playoff team. No, I didn't say a winning team. I said a playoff team. Okay? I am concerned about that. I'm concerned about that. Now I'll get to your comments. Yeah, forgive me for going on and on and on, but I wasn't going to go on and on to the break of dawn. Let's put it that way. All right. So I will take your comments from the start down to the finish. I apologize. I'm not going to miss it. Hey, John, how you doing? Jay Will says, what's up? See you guy Tyree Jackson signed with the Bills. Yeah, for 75,000 smackers. Ooh. But yeah, he signed. It was good that he got signed, and I think that he's going to stick around. But that's, I mean, why they did that to him is just terrible. I don't know. All right. John Collins says, shocked that Tyree Jackson went undrafted. Me 1,000. Jay Willis says, Greedy Williams failing to make the second round was ridiculous. Agreed. Paul Venegas Sr. says, I think it was a great draft. I like all the picks. I think we got caught up in the mock draft and do what we know about these players. The media's, how many times they get it wrong. Well, let's be fair, though. How many times do GMs get it wrong? Okay? I told, and I'm not saying anything, this is not a criticism toward Reggie McKenzie, who I think is very well every bit the NFL Executive of the Year he has been coined, okay? And okay? So, he says, all right, Reggie McKenzie, I told him at the NFL annual meeting and some of you may remember I've crowed about this. I told him 2 years ago, take Cam Robinson because he can ragdoll Myles Jarrett. Myles Jarrett is the Cleveland defensive end. That was the first pick. So what do? You know you're going to be going up against Cleveland. You know you've got this bevy of defensive ends coming into the league like we're talking about this year, right? You get Cam Robinson to deal with these dudes. What do? They got Conley, all right? And while Conley's starting to work out well just now, Cam Robinson was plug and play. Was plug and play, all pro his first year. I told Reggie, you asked Reggie, and Reggie will tell you, because Reggie's an honest guy. He says, yeah, he told me about him. But he didn't get him. Last year, I said, hey man, Cortland Sutton should be a Raider. Oh yeah, yes, yeah, SMU. He goes, yeah, yeah. I said, yeah, SMU. Great target in the end zone. What happens? The Raiders pass on him, get Colton, all right? Colton has a rough first year. Meanwhile, guess who picks up the guy that I'm talking about from SMU? Yeah, the Broncos. And this guy went on to a really great first year, okay? All right? So my point is, you say the media, my point is, hey, look, there's some draft nicks like myself. We're junkies of this stuff. And there's something called the Delphi technique. You want to be a good drafter, do yourself a favor. Anytime you think you're not evaluating somebody because of how you feel about a school they went to or their race or anything like that, when you feel that person's going to be downgraded, do the opposite. And you wind up having a great record. Okay? Take your bias out of it. Just go with what your eyes tell you. That's what I do. I saw 2 videos of Cortland Sutton. That was it. Then I went back to look at the others, and nobody else stood out to me, particularly in end zone receptions inside 25 yards. That's the guy I want, okay? For my purposes, that's the guy that I want. Now, in fairness to Mike Mayock, he would say, for the Raiders' purposes, Colin Farrell is what they want. He has said that. And everybody gets caught up falling in love with players. There's nothing wrong with it. Just make sure that your love has an empirical quotient to go with it, right? All right? Okay, Paul, I got Paul's out of the way. Raider Gans, how you doing? Raider Gans says, Game of Thrones, in-game, and the draft all in one weekend. Wow. Yeah, I haven't seen, has anyone seen Avengers Endgame yet? I haven't. But I got something for you all, okay? I got something for you all that you're gonna, I think, you're gonna think is rather amusing. At least I hope you do when I play it. Paul Vinegar says the draft is always a hit or bust. You really never know what you're getting in the player at an NFL level. And that's true. You do well. See, here's the thing: you don't know what you're getting once you sign that person up to gain a lot of money. All right, and that changes them. The old saying is, money makes you more of who you already are. So if you're drafting somebody who has red flags and you give them money, that money is going to exacerbate those red flags. All right? It's going to make them, whatever their issues happen to be, the money will either help them clear it up or it'll make it worse. If those red flags happen to be, kleptomania, then you don't have to worry about anything. They got a ton of money. They don't need to steal anything. Steal from themselves, right? But if it happens to be something like domestic violence, and they come into the league with violent problems, and you give them money, folks, those problems are not going to go away. And I think we're seeing that right now. Those problems are not going to go away. All right? If you have somebody that does, like buys homes for, that came from humble beginnings, from a single parent, like Mr. Farrell did, I'll tell you this. I will bet you Mr. Farrell becomes one of those guys that we hear about who builds homes for the homeless in Oakland. And maybe even, in Inland and in Las Vegas. Heck, how about nationwide? I think he's that kind. He seems like he's that kind of guy. Okay? He seems like he's that kind of guy. Now, Nick Bosa, Nick reminds me of the line in Grease. Too cool for school. Too cool for school. That's Nick Bosa. So he's got the headphones on. He's on the red carpet selfieing himself. I got a video on Zenny62, all right? He's like cool, all right? Cool, all right? Okay? Cool. Okay? So, Nick, I'm not quite sure about Nick. Nick has his brother to keep him in line. We'll see how that works out. Fabulous Nick Vlog says, exactly right about the black quarterbacks. The Giants will never allow a black quarterback to be the face of their franchise. Never. That's bad. Paul Vinegar Sr. says, the draft is always a hit or bust. You really never know what you're getting in the player. I read that one. And then Ray again says, as far as being progressive, the NFL is where the NBA was right around the Pistol Pete era. Wow. Rest in peace, John Havlicek, by the way. Rob Iman says, I'm glad Mayock resisted drafting a quarterback. Then Iman says, the 2020 quarterback class is much deeper. Sean Watson says, my brother's son got assigned by the Raiders dealing Kloss. Oh, good for him. Patrick M. Blackman, how you doing? And thank you. I still have to do the shares. So I processed that, and I'll do the shares. I'll get them out by Wednesday. Sean Watson says, so proud. Junior Duenas says, sup everybody, I'm late. Hope you're still here. Paul Vinegar Sr. says, let's great for your nephew getting drafted by the Raiders. Sean Watson says, thanks. Hey, wait a minute. Your nephew got drafted by the Raiders? Congratulations. Congratulations. Lemon water, by the way. A good antidote to high blood pressure. That's for you. J. Will 501. Darius Leonard was top 5 rated linebacker in the NFL his first year in the league, coming from an HBCU. So that lack of competition argument that people always make is super flawed. Not to mention stupid. They might just be honest and say, we got a problem because he's black. Oh, jeez Louise. Unbelievable stuff, you know? And then Benigas goes on and says, I think you need to move on quarterback. We don't need to draft one. If anything, we need an experienced backup for some reason he gets hurt. I have always been of the opinion that the Raiders should draft a quarterback young to teach him, all right? To teach him the Gruden system rather than relying on, look, Derek Carr, we all love Derek Carr as a person, okay? Let's get that out of the way. He's a great man. He's a great man. Been a great for the community. Christian, okay? But he's also a China doll who gets injured every year with something. Who is to say this will not happen again this year? I hope it doesn't. That cannot happen if John puts him in a system that gets the ball out of his hands. Coach. Now, Junior Dwayne says, I believe Carr deserves another shot. I never said he didn't. In fact, there's a guy at another publication. I'll just call him. Nah, forget it. I won't call him out. But I'll just say what he did because I thought it was funny. No, I will call him out because I called him out there. Jerry McDonald puts out this tweet. All those in the media who said that the Raiders should draft a quarterback and replace Carr, Ray, where are you now, right? Because the Raiders didn't draft a quarterback. Do you realize that Jerry McDonald was one of those people who wrote an article saying that it would be a great idea if the Raiders drafted a quarterback and kept Carr? So let me think about that. He says, oh, you all in the media who said, you know, that the Raiders should draft a quarterback to replace Carr at some point. Y'all look stupid now. He was one of the people who did that. What, he forgot what he wrote? I wrote that. I said, Jerry, there's something called the internet, you know? Because when he first wrote that, I said, you know what? Let me check out. Something just told me in my brain. Let me check out what this dude wrote. Let me check out and see what he wrote about Derek Carr in the NFL draft. And sure enough, bing, right in my eyes. Jeez. My God. So my point is this. I never said Derek Carr didn't deserve another shot. My issue is not with Derek Carr. My issue starts with an S and it ends with an E. It's called scheme. Okay? Scheme. It's what Coach Gruden has Carr doing that I feel is not optimum and is not for what he does. It puts him in a position, Derek Carr, such that the defense pretty much knows what he's going to do. Hey, ML Scott. And not only does the defense know what he's going to do, it's predictable, it asks him to hold on to the ball too long. Ugh. Pedro Gallardo says, what do you think of the safety situation? Replace Joseph with Abrams or put Joyner in the slot nickel? I say let's let a competition take place in preseason. We just got these guys, all right? Let them play into their slots. And by the third game of preseason, you should know, and training camp, you know how it's going to shake out. Because you have free agents you're going to sign too. You might sign someone undrafted that turns out to be better than all these guys. So let's just, hold our horses, okay? Sean Watson says, what do you think about Marshawn's retirement? I think Marshawn Lynch should be signed up as a player coach. He should be given that honor so that he can, and they should talk about teaching the Raider way, right? And so what's the Raider way? And go on a long time about what I think the Raider way is or should be considered. Hey, everybody, welcome to Zenny62. But I think Marshawn Lynch should, rather than being considered retired, he should be given an anointed place in a throne-like position in the Raiders. This should be a kind of a, if you do that, you have to throw in some other guys like Ray Chester, who should be in the Hall of Fame, by the way, and Bill Romanowski, and Willie Brown, and Otis Sistrunk, and George Atkinson. All right, I call it like the Raiders chamber, the chamber of there it is, the chamber of legends. The Raiders should form the chamber of legends. Okay, I'm gonna write that down. I like that. The chamber of legends. And Marshawn Lynch should be the chairman of the Chamber of Legends. You should have a rotating chair, like every year. Marshawn's it this year, right? But it's a way of appropriately and organizationally inculcating the Raider way into the culture for this season and years to come, right? The Chamber of Legends. It means something. And then you give them responsibilities, you give them a stipend, Some of the guys, they need that kind of help, I can see the Chamber of Legends growing to like 100 Raiders, okay? Have a little financing for them. Maybe get the NFL to have a Chamber of Legends for every team, And then that Chamber of Legends gets financed. And it grows on a per-team basis. See what I'm getting at? All right? So, but that way, every team in the NFL has an opportunity to cement their culture for years to come. Just an idea. All right. And then also talk to the younger guys, okay? All right? So, in Jose Duenas says Sweat was snatched up before we could get him. No, Junior. You get Sweat at number 4, man. Montez Sweat at number 4. Nobody would criticize that. Nobody, okay? Montez Sweat at number 4 or Devin White, all right? Devin White made more sense at 4. In fact, Devin White told me and the rest of the media, it's on Zenny62, that the Raiders were going to get him, all right? In fact, I'm talking about that, and I'm yapping, right? Hold on a second, all right? In fact, I'm talking about... Let me show you this so you can see. This is Devin White. Zenny62, right here. Devin White YouTube. There. Bingo. There he is. Okay. This is the only full interview. This is the only full interview.
We have our CBS Sports fantasy expert, Jamie.
That's not it. This is the only full interview of Devin White. All right, hold on a second. Here we go. This is Mr. Devin White. This is the guy that thought the Raiders were going to pick him at number 4, okay? Here we go.
So when did you first realize you're going to be a Buccaneer?
I first realized I was going to be a Buccaneer when I seen Farrah from Clemson get the call from the Raiders. You know, I knew I was in play with the Raiders at 4, but, you know, Coach Bruce told me if I was on the board at 5, he was going to take me, and that was like my own kept hard secret, you know, from like the media. But I told the media I knew, I kind of had a feeling where I was going, but I just never knew if the Raiders was going to take me or not, you know, because they was really interested in me.
Wow. But the Buccaneers,
I mean, I feel like I'm a guy that can fit in anywhere, you know, I can adapt to anything, and I mean, it's a great spot for me, and I'm just ready to get there and, you know, just do what I do and just, you know, be part of a great organization with a great coaching staff, great owners, and, you know, just everything about the program, like, I'm just ready to be there.
Okay, I'm going to stop that here because I think you saw, you know, the main point was that he expected to be taken by the Raiders, all right? Okay, so that was the main point, is that he expected, Devin White did, he expected to be taken by the Raiders, and the Raiders didn't take him, okay? And all right, so, and I was shocked the Raiders passed on him. I expected them to say Devin White, Oakland Raiders. He expected it. The room expected it, all right? Either that or Montez Sweat. Because Sweat, I mean, how many times in a lifetime do you find a guy that's 6'5", 245, 250 pounds and runs a 4.40? When you have somebody that does that, you don't hesitate, okay, at all. Whew. So, hold on a second. Getting through the rest of your comments here, very quickly. Pedro Glauer says, what do you think of the safeties? I got that one. Dwayne says he thinks Abrams would captain this defense, if not secondary. Okay, fine. I answered the Rent Lynch part. Dwayne says, I think I like Cleveland a little better than Sweat as a plug-in player. Now Sweat may have a higher ceiling. Paul Venegas Sr. says it would have been nice if Marshawn had one more year in him. Yeah, Sean Watson says, you laugh out loud, you like rap? Of course. Dwayne says, Reggie, great salary cap expert, but not a great drafter. Then Dwayne says, I still get caught falling in love with players. Venegas, I'm catching up here because a lot of these comments are way back. I'm reading through them fast, okay? Hey, 49ers fan 88, nice to have you here. Dwayne says, Cleveland can play 270, fits 4-3 better, but still believe we reach at number 4, but nobody wanted to trade with us. But they could have just taken Devin White. Oh, jeez. Rob Iman says, Jed York probably isn't crazy about the Trump tweet. You think? I know his dad's not. Rob Iman says, Myers want to make Eli look good. I like that one. DJB Production says, I'm new. NFL YouTuber, any help would be so amazing. Okay. Edward Reed says, hey, Zen, keep up the good work, sir. On the Oakland Raiders, very accurate. Thank you. Hey, look. I'm more interested in making sure that you all feel like you are informed and also that you keep me informed. It's a two-way street. All right, thank you. Organic the Illionaire. Hello, sir. I am new to your channel. Can you please do a video on the Bucs draft? I think we will go deep into the playoffs, and Jameis will have a bounce-back year. Organic, I will do that. I 1,000,000% agree with you. Rob Iman says, I see the Raiders running the ball a lot more this season. Rob, I hope you're right. In order to do that, we got to stop people, right? We got to stop people. Jose Duane says, I agree with quarterback, teach a young person in the Gruden system. ML Scott is in the house, I hope still. Edward Reed says, I know Gruden wouldn't draft a quarterback, especially an African-American quarterback. His record speaks for itself. He's only drafted one. He went in the 5th round, 2008, Josh Johnson. Ryan Abbott, yeah, he also brought him back to the Raiders for a spell. Ryan Abbott says, why did Corey Ballantyne get shot, who was the 180 pick the Giants hours after he was drafted? His coach said he was an outstanding person. Whoa. Hold on, Ryan. Ryan says, I think most people don't get shot and his friend died. No. This wasn't, here's something else, all right? And this gets into, racial profiling of a situation. Anybody, sadly, this is a fact in today's society with all these guns out here, anybody can have something tragic like that happen to them. It doesn't mean that they're a bad person. In his instance, he went to a party, and as my mother very accurately said, it's as much about who you have as your friends as anything else. Earlier on, maybe before you joined us, I talked about the humble beginnings many of these players come from, both black and white, but particularly African-American players. And for them, many live in neighborhoods that are not safe. So you have a gentleman who comes from a neighborhood who's not safe. Those are his friends. He's out with him. He doesn't know anything else other than them. And that happens. All right? There's always this saying of, don't forget where you came from, right? There's an example. Sometimes it's a good idea to forget where you came from. The reason is that you have people who are sometimes tend to be crab barrels. You ever heard of the term crab barrel? It refers to a barrel of crabs. And the idea is that if one crab tries to get out, the other pulls him down. Nobody's getting out of the crab barrel, okay? So you don't have to be a bad person. As Sean Watson just wrote, haters. That's right. You don't have to be a bad person to have that happen to you. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time, as Jordan Yancey very succinctly and accurately put just a moment ago. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Rob Iman says, I think Winston must be much improved under Arians. So do I. As Raider says, and I'm sure they do, but I just feel like I don't know Marshawn Lynch should have retired this year. Could have been a critical farewell tour similar to Kobe. Remember, last year was supposed to be Marshawn's farewell tour. Last year was supposed to be the year that we marched into the Super Bowl under the new coach Gruden, and it didn't happen, okay? As Raider says, you agree with me, Zen. Junior Dana says, love Devin White. I wanted him. Sean Watson says, I think the Raiders are giving him time to heal. Talking about Lynch. Unknown Raider guy says, Chiefs are done this season. 90% chance Tyreek Hill won't play. They're not going to dominate the division. Raiders versus Chargers for the winning of the AFC West. You never, ever bet against Andy Reid. Just saying. Don't bet against Andy Reid. As Raider says, seems like every pick 1 or 2 picks ahead of us keeps grabbing the guy I want. It started with a D tackle that went to the Jets, Quentin Williams. I think Quentin Williams is going to be a guy that, pretty much what I saw in college, a guy that you cannot run away from, okay? Quentin Williams and Montez Sweat and Josh Jacobs on the Raiders would have been, you know what, if they'd lined that up, Montez Sweat, then maybe they trade up a bit to get, Montez Sweat, all right? And then, trade up to get Quentin Williams, then stayed at 4 and got Montez Sweat, those two, all right? And then got Josh Jacobs. Game over, man. Game over. D tackle who can run and catch anybody side to side. Defensive end who quick off the ball, can get in for the side and catch anybody from behind. Forget it, okay? That, if the Raiders had produced that kind of draft, cha-ching! Oh yeah, man. I'd have been hopping up and down and everything. I've been doing the dance and all that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. As Raiders says, sorry voice chat for a final farewell. Oakland Raiders win the division. Might even play the Patriots in the AFC Championship. The Pats had a great draft. Jeez, man. That's called doing your homework, all right? Jordan Yancey says, Cleveland Farrell be an all-pro defensive end. I agree. I mean, my point was not against him. It was that Devin White expected to be a Raider, but is very happy to be a Buck. Okay? That's it, all right? Underrated guy says, it happens a lot of rappers who make it out, talking about the wrong place, wrong time thing that Yancey talked about. As Raider says, yes, Mr. Zen, I mean Nipsey Hussle. Need I say more? Joseph Binsman, how you doing? Joseph says, Jones was risky, but I like the draft for my G-men other than him. Raiders may have taken Farrell a bit soon, but they had a solid draft as well. I agree, and I got all the comments. There you go. All the comments. Now, I mentioned forecasting Vegas 2020. I wasn't talking about the stadium, folks. No. The NFL draft is going to be in Las Vegas. Okay? That's the next stop. All right? I know Ray guy says, thank God for defense first round. When I say forecasting, my thing is, where are they going to hold the draft? The Review Journal sent Ed Rainey out to do a piece I saw and said hello to him for a second. Then he left. And it turned out he was writing about that very same thing. Because by the time the draft falls, the stadium's not going to be ready. Okay, so it's not going to be held there. And you can forget the idea that they're going to ask you to go over into a stadium that's under construction. That's not going to happen either. So where would they have, what would they do? Well, they have T-Mobile, okay? They have, I mean, what creative thing could they do in Las Vegas? All right? Unknown Red Guy says, may be heard outside might be ready. No, you don't, no, you don't do that. No. No, if you heard that from someone, they were stupid. You want to know why? The draft is in April, okay? You don't get your certificate of occupancy, all right, until the stadium is 100% done. A certificate of occupancy does not mean, well, you can have a party outside over here, but we're not done. No. It's not ready. So anytime you hear somebody saying something stupid like that, just go 999 because it ain't happening. All right? The certificate of occupancy. Yeah, I mean, it's just common sense. All right? Just like this whole thing about, well, the Raiders stadium is on schedule. And hey, they keep moving the schedule back. So yeah, it's on schedule. They keep adjusting the thing. Ooh. I mean, you know how, it's hilarious. I mean, it's absolutely hilarious, the lengths that they go through to make it look like this thing is really going to come up and, you know, it's really going to be this opening early when they keep moving the date back. Jeez. All right, it's not ready, okay? So, again, it brings me back to my point. Where are they going to have it? All right, where are they going to have it? Roberto Marx says, Eagles, E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles. All right, so is that your way of saying that you had the Eagles had the best draft or what? I'll tell you the Packers had an interesting one. But let me pick up on this whole Vegas thing for a second and then come back. I'm interested, Watson says they should just stay in Oakland. You know, it really would be nice, and I had an idea 3 years ago for a draft in Oakland, okay? And Roberto Marx says the Eagles are the best team. You got a ring, okay, but you didn't get a ring this year. So this year, not the best team. You were last year. Sorry. At any rate, my point is this. John O'Connor says maybe at the Thomas and Mack Center. I think T-Mobile and let me see here. Hey, Roberto Marx, I'm not going to pick up on the Eagles stuff right now. Just cool your jets and listen, all right? If you know, or want to leave, you want to leave, but hey, stick around. Look, T-Mobile, let's think about this. All right? Let's think about this. Let's say a map Las Vegas Strip, all right? Maybe we can get an aerial, all right? Have a little bit of fun, okay? Images, all right? And kind of figure out this thing. Maybe we could do this a little bit. Images, that's a map, okay? Maps. Yeah. Satellite. Yeah, satellite. Then we go 3D. Get a little bit closer down in there. Yeah. Come with me, okay? Check this out. That's Las Vegas Strip, okay? So, what we have is if we go down here, stadium is, all right? That's where the stadium is, okay? So ideally you want it somewhere around there, but you've got Luxor, and I would think you've got because the stadium's not going to be ready in time. It's April. It's April of next year, so it's not going to be ready in time. That's just the way it is. It's just not a matter of, it's a matter of fact, okay? All right, so let's go move it a little bit closer here. I think that given that Caesars is the, and has a sponsorship, I think you're going to see a lot of the draft centering around Caesars, okay? They would want it that way. And so I could see them taking over the whole form for the draft and then having it take place between these hotels and then have something down, maybe, well, they can't have it at the stadium because the stadium's not ready, but maybe across the way here. You would have to do something that's has all these interconnected in some kind of way, all right? In order to make that draft city, you would have to turn Las Vegas Strip into NFL Draft City. That would be the greatest challenge for Pete O'Reilly in the NFL, okay? Is to make all of this and all of this NFL Draft City. That means one unifying theme, which is, of course, the NFL logo theme, right? But that means also different activities and different venues on different dates. Like, for example, where would Selection Square be? Okay. Now, I think Selection Square could be at the Mandalay Bay Convention Center. Inside, all right? And so where would the stage go? Well, you could put the stage over at T-Mobile over here. Okay? But whatever the case, I think that somehow you're going to have to keep these guys happy because these are your sponsor people. You can't just throw it anywhere around. But Caesars owns so many of the hotels around, well, Caesars Entertainment, right? So somehow you have to keep them happy. I'm not going to pretend that I can, solve that problem tonight. It's a complex one because the difference between Las Vegas and Nashville, Dallas, Philadelphia, and Chicago is this. All of them had one large building or area the NFL could control, and then which is the hub, and then the spokes of the wheel come out from that hub, and they have these different draft activities around the different businesses that are involved in the draft. Let me give you an example, working backward. Chicago. You had the lakefront park around Buckingham Fountain, okay? And then you had the different tents representing the branding of each of the 32 teams of the NFL, and you had the Ferris wheel for entertainment, and you had the NFL installations. You had this whole park, all right? That drew, I thought they said, well, what, 300,000? Someone said 900,000. Some crazy numbers in Chicago. All I know was a lot of people. NFL draft day, hot day. You can see my videos here at Zenny62. Incredible, okay? Open space. Philadelphia, the museum, they were able to take over the museum, the NFL, and then all of the area in front of it to build what was an even larger installation there, at least they said so, okay? Dallas, I didn't attend, but they used the stadium and the land around it. Again, areas they could control. In Las Vegas Strip, it's hard to find a comparable area like that, okay? That's what makes this so, I mean, it's doable, okay? You could say, you would say, hey, wait, what about the Fremont experience in downtown? Because then you've got the mayor who certainly wants downtown Las Vegas represented. So do you make the mayor happy and say, hey, you know what, we'll just rebrand downtown Las Vegas? Which I happen to think would be a cool idea, okay? Because it's ripe for rebranding. You have the first hotel being built down there, I think, a long, long time. It's not going to be ready by the time the draft, okay? UNLV Stadium, no, it's not suited for that. UNLV Stadium is not the place for the draft. I'm sorry, it just isn't. It's controllable space, but it's too far away from the central action. The difference between Sam Boyd and all the other NFL draft venues is that the other NFL draft venues have been at the center of the cities they've been in. So in Las Vegas, okay, and as Raiders says, so where then? And I said, I'm not going to solve it tonight, I don't think. Maybe I could stumble my way into it. But I'm looking at, you have the Las Vegas Convention Center. Ding. There. You have the Las Vegas Convention Center. You have the Bellagio, which makes for some interesting fountain action activity possibilities. You have Caesars. Okay. You'd have to do something, you know what, here's the problem. You have to make each hotel happy. All right? Not each one, because if you take a look at it, you start subdividing it by ownership, you basically have to, you have to make Boyd Gaming happy, you've got to make Caesars happy, you've got to make MGM happy, right? So you think about it from that standpoint, and you got to think about ingress, egress, and traffic and transportation. And what comes off the top of my head is a possible setup that would subdivide the Strip into areas that represent different divisions in the NFL. AFC East, AFC West, and so on. With the central area of the draft being T-Mobile. Okay? For the purpose of this, I would not include the stadium. The stadium is under construction. That's dangerous. You stay away from it. You don't want any mishaps. You don't want any security issues. That's the biggest risk, okay? That is the biggest risk of what Peter O'Reilly is doing with this new taking the draft around the country sort of thing. Security risk. You have a lot, you ask for a lot of resources to be involved. It's a complicated affair and a lot of things that can go wrong, okay? But fortunately haven't gone wrong because the NFL is prepared very well. Strike that, extremely well, all right? But you don't want to chance, you don't want to tempt fate, is the term, okay? You want to be careful. You don't want to tempt fate. So, but I think something that's themed with respect to the hotels and is tied into the monorail system. Now, you got the Westgate, which I think has a beautiful auditorium to use and a lot of space in front of it, okay? As I'm thinking along this, right? Caesars has the fountain space. It has the forum area, all right? And what I'm thinking about is what you want to have is if you want to have one area where you can hold a lot of people and hold a concert, the outdoors, like they did, they're also covered. One place I can think of that can do that really, really well is downtown because they do that already. They had, who is it that sings Jenny? Jenny, I want your number. 8675309. Is that Rick Springfield? At any rate, I think it's Rick Springfield. But they had a concert down there last year. D Hotel helped produce that, if memory serves. There's a ton of people out there. All right? So, as I think about it, the more I think about it, downtown just might work really, really well for the NFL draft if you can convince the casinos on the strip to go along with it, all right? That's my thought, okay? Because that just seems just to fit so perfectly. You could have the selections down there, and you have different draft events, dispersed around the strip. And yeah, dispersed around the strip, okay? No, it wasn't Tommy Two-Tone. I know that for a fact. But at any rate, so I think I'm going to give this some more thought because I know they're thinking about it. It's not going to be off strip. So let's you know what, everybody, let's play this game. You think about it. Not for this show. I'm going to get ready to close down because it's 1:35 in the East. Here's the homework. You have to find a venue for the stage, the NFL draft stage, okay? It's called Selection Square. And you need to find a tent for media, a green room, and then that's pretty much it. Because the difference between this draft and Chicago is Chicago had two huge arches, all right? One arch was Selection Square, okay? They had Selection Square at that arch on one end, and then they had the players at the other in the auditorium. So they had Selection Square on the outside, and then they had the auditorium in the Roosevelt Auditorium where the players were to meet the commissioner. That was Chicago. So I think what they happened is they took a look at this and says, hey, why do we have all of these spread out? Why don't we bring them in more like they used to be? So what they did in Nashville was they essentially took downtown and had downtown essentially looking at this stage that was kind of like Radio City Music Hall turned inside out. And that's what they did. So they basically sort of compacted the design. but they made it a draft town more for entertainment purposes and also security. Okay, it's pretty ingenious. So, having said that, that makes it a lot easier to move around in terms of production. But you need a selection square, which is your main stage for your players. And you need spaces for the 32 teams because they take their calls and everything there. You need backstage green room, a media workroom to hold about, I would say 500 media in there, maybe 1,000. Yeah, let's say 500 or whatever. 500, 600. Need a red carpet area. Red carpet area is about the length of half a football field, about the width of 30 yards, okay? You need a holding area you need security areas that have to be long enough to have queues and chutes, right? Chutes where people can come through and out, right? So there's your layout. That's your basics. So you think about that in the context of Las Vegas and this downtown, the strip, and then you get back to me. My email is zinny@zinny62.com. All right. Okay, folks. I'm out. Live long and prosper. And you will do so if you subscribe to Zinny62 on YouTube. See you guys tomorrow. Guys and gals. All right. Good night, all. Thank you.